The scream of hinges echoed through the darkness as Cole Dawson pushed open his stable door, lantern raised high against the autumn night of 1878, and his breath caught at the sight of the woman huddled between hay bales, her white silk dress torn and mudded, her dark eyes wide with terror. She scrambled backward like a cornered animal, pressing herself against the rough wooden wall. Her chest heaved with panicked breaths, and Cole could see she was shaking from head to toe. The elaborate lace veil that had been pinned to her dark hair hung askew, trailing through the straw like a ghostly banner of escape. "Easy now," Cole said, keeping his voice low and steady, the same tone he used with spooked horses. He set the lantern on a post, keeping his hands visible. "I am not going to hurt you." The woman's lips trembled, but she said nothing. Her fingers clutched at the torn bodice of her wedding gown, and Cole noticed the intricate beadwork, the expensive fabric. This was no ordinary dress, which meant whoever she had run from had money, and men with money in San Andreas, California had long reaches and longer memories. "What is your name?" he asked gently, crouching down to make himself less threatening. Even in the dim light, he could see she was beautiful, perhaps 22 or 23, with olive skin and hair the color of midnight that had fallen from its pins in wild waves around her shoulders. "Olivia," she whispered finally, her voice hoarse. "Olivia Castellano." The name hit Cole like a fist to the gut. He knew that name. Everyone in San Andreas knew the Castellanos. They owned half the cattle ranches in the valley and had their hands in every profitable venture from Sacramento to the coast. And if Olivia Castellano had been getting married today, that meant she had been promised to Victor Hammond, the silver mine owner whose cruelty was as legendary as his wealth. "You ran from Hammond," Cole said, not making it a question. Olivia's eyes filled with tears that spilled down her cheeks, cutting tracks through the dust on her face. "I could not do it. I stood there at the altar and I looked at him and I just could not." Her voice broke. "My father will kill me. Victor will hunt me down like a dog. But I could not marry him. I could not spend my life with a man who looks at me like I am property he purchased." Cole understood that look. He had seen it often enough in his 26 years, particularly during the war when men treated women they encountered as spoils rather than human beings. He had deserted the Confederate Army rather than participate in such atrocities, and he had been running ever since, building a quiet life here on the outskirts of San Andreas where he trained horses and kept to himself. "How did you find my stable?" he asked. "I did not find anything. I ran blindly after I bolted from the church. I grabbed a horse from outside and rode until it threw me near your property. I saw the light from your cabin and hid here." Fresh tears welled in her eyes. "I have nowhere else to go. My mother died when I was 14. My father arranged this marriage for business. Victor paid him $30,000 for me, like I was livestock." The rage that flared in Cole's chest was immediate and fierce. He forced it down, knowing anger would not help this terrified woman. "You cannot stay in the stable," he said practically. "It is too cold, and if they are searching, this is one of the first places they will look come morning." "Then I will leave," Olivia said, struggling to stand on trembling legs. "I will not bring trouble to your door." "Sit down," Cole said firmly. "You are not going anywhere in that dress in the middle of the night. You would not make it a mile before someone found you." He stood, thinking rapidly. "I have a proposition. You stay here tonight, hidden in my cabin. Tomorrow I will take you somewhere safe." "Why would you help me?" Olivia asked, suspicion warring with hope in her dark eyes. "You do not know me." "Because no woman should be sold like cattle," Cole said simply. "And because I know what it is to run from something you cannot face." He extended his hand to her. "Come on. The cabin has a loft. If anyone comes searching, you can hide up there." Olivia hesitated for a long moment before placing her small, cold hand in his. Her fingers were like ice, and Cole realized she was not just frightened, she was freezing. The November night had turned bitter, and her wedding dress provided little warmth. He helped her to her feet, steadying her when she swayed. "When did you last eat?" "Yesterday morning," she admitted. "I was too nervous for breakfast, and then—" She gestured helplessly at her ruined gown. Cole led her across the dark yard to his small cabin. It was nothing fancy, just 2 rooms and a loft, but it was warm and dry and far enough from the main road that casual searchers might pass it by. He settled Olivia in a chair near the fire and draped a thick wool blanket around her shoulders before moving to the kitchen area. "I do not have much that is fancy," he said, slicing bread and cheese, "but it will fill your stomach." Olivia pulled the blanket tighter, watching him with those enormous dark eyes. "You are different from other men I have known." "How so?" "You have not asked me for anything in return. You have not looked at me the way men usually look at me. You are just helping." Cole brought her the plate and a cup of water. Not all men are Victor Hammond. She took the food with shaking hands and ate ravenously, confirming that she had been running on fear and adrenaline alone. Cole busied himself stoking the fire higher, giving her privacy to eat and collect herself. When she finally set down the empty plate, some color had returned to her face. "Thank you," she said quietly. "I do not think I have ever tasted anything so good." "Hunger is the best seasoning," Cole said, settling into the chair across from her. "Now we need to make a plan. Your father and Hammond will be searching by first light. They will check every ranch, every farm, every building within 20 miles. You need to be somewhere they would not think to look." "There is nowhere," Olivia said bleakly. "My father knows everyone. Hammond has men everywhere. I have no money, no friends who would risk crossing them." She looked up at him, desperation clear in her expression. "I was foolish to run. I should have just gone through with it and made the best of my life." "No," Cole said sharply, "you were brave to run. Any life built on being bought and sold is not a life worth living." He stood, pacing before the fire. "I have a friend in San Francisco, a woman who runs a boarding house. She asks no questions and takes in women who need fresh starts. If I can get you there, you could begin again." "San Francisco is over 150 miles away," Olivia said. "We would never make it. Not if we go directly. But if we head east first into the Sierra Nevada foothills, we can circle around and come at it from the north. It will take longer, but it will throw them off our trail." "You would do that for me? Risk everything to help a stranger?" Cole met her eyes across the firelight. "I told you, I know what it is to run. When I left the war, men hunted me too. A Quaker family in Missouri hid me for 3 months until the search died down. They risked their lives for mine. I swore if I ever had the chance to help someone else escape, I would." He paused. "Besides, I have been in San Andreas long enough. It might be time to move on anyway." "I cannot ask you to give up your home," Olivia protested. "You are not asking, I am offering." Cole smiled, and it transformed his weather-worn face, making him look younger, almost boyish. "Truth is, I have been restless lately. This might be the push I needed." Olivia studied him in the firelight, this stranger who had appeared like an answer to a prayer she had not known how to form. He was tall and lean, with dark blonde hair that needed cutting and eyes the color of a summer sky. His face was handsome in a rugged way, marked by sun and wind and hardship, but there was a gentleness in his expression that made her feel safe for the first time in months. "When would we leave?" she asked. "Before dawn. We will need to be well away before they start the search in earnest." Cole moved to a trunk in the corner and pulled out clothing. "These were my mother's. She died last year, but I kept her things. They will fit you better than that dress, and you will attract less attention." Olivia took the simple calico dress and wool coat gratefully. I can change in the other room, of course. Cole pointed to the small bedroom. Take your time. When she emerged 10 minutes later, she looked transformed. The wedding gown was gone, replaced by the practical blue calico that made her look like any frontier woman. She had braided her long hair and pinned it up and washed her face in the basin. Only her eyes, still haunted and afraid, betrayed what she had been through. Better, Cole said approvingly. Now you should rest. I will keep watch and wake you in a few hours. I do not think I can sleep, Olivia said, but her exhaustion was evident in every line of her body. Try anyway. We have a hard ride ahead of us. She climbed the ladder to the loft, and Cole heard her settle into the bedding there. He sat by the fire, his rifle across his knees, listening to the night sounds outside. Somewhere out there, men were already searching for Olivia Castellano. By morning, the hunt would intensify. But Cole had run from worse odds and he had not been caught yet. As the hours passed, he planned their route in his mind. They would take the back trails into the foothills, avoiding the main roads. He had supplies cached at an old mining cabin about 30 miles east, a place he had discovered on his wanderings. They could hole up there for a day, let the initial search pass, then make their way north toward the Sacramento Valley and from there to San Francisco. It was risky. It was dangerous. But looking up at the loft where Olivia slept, hearing her soft breathing finally even out as exhaustion claimed her, Cole knew it was the right thing to do. 3 hours before dawn, he woke her gently. She startled, then relaxed when she recognized him. Is it time? Yes. I have packed supplies and saddled 2 horses. We need to leave now. They moved quickly and quietly through the darkness. Cole had chosen his 2 best horses, steady animals that could handle rough terrain. He helped Olivia mount, noting that despite her fancy upbringing, she sat a horse well. I learned to ride before I could walk, she explained, seeing his approving look. My mother was from Mexico, and she believed women should be as capable as men. Smart woman, Cole said, swinging into his own saddle. They rode east as the stars began to fade, following trails that only someone who knew the country intimately could find. Cole had spent years exploring these hills, and he used that knowledge now, taking them through creek beds and over rocky ground that would leave minimal tracks. The sun rose behind them, painting the sky gold and crimson. In the growing light, Cole could see Olivia more clearly. She rode with determination, though fear still lurked in her eyes. Every time they heard a sound, she tensed, ready to bolt. Tell me about San Francisco, she said after several hours of silence. What is it like? I have only been there twice, Cole admitted, but it is like nothing you have ever seen. Buildings taller than trees, ships from every nation on Earth, people from places you have never heard of. You can disappear there, become anyone you want to be. That sounds wonderful, Olivia said wistfully. I have never been anywhere except San Andreas and Sacramento. My father kept me close, always watching, always controlling who I saw and spoke to. He has been planning my marriage since I was 16, grooming me to be the perfect wife for a wealthy man. What did you want to be? Cole asked. The question seemed to startle her. I do not think anyone has ever asked me that before. She was quiet for a moment, thinking. I wanted to be a teacher. I love books, learning, children. I thought maybe I could open a school, teach reading and writing to children whose families could not afford formal education. She laughed bitterly. But my father said that was foolishness, that my only purpose was to marry well and produce heirs. Maybe you still can, Cole said. Open a school, I mean. San Francisco needs good teachers. Olivia looked at him with something like wonder. You really believe I could do that? Why not? You can read and write. You are smart, and you clearly have the will to fight for what you want. Running from that wedding proved that. A real smile crossed Olivia's face, the first genuine expression of happiness Cole had seen from her. It transformed her completely, and he felt something shift in his chest, a warmth that had nothing to do with the rising sun. They rode until mid-afternoon, when Cole judged they had put enough distance between themselves and San Andreas to risk a brief rest. He found a secluded spot near a stream where the horses could drink and graze while he and Olivia ate the bread and dried meat he had packed. "You think they are still searching?" Olivia asked, watching the trail behind them nervously. "Without doubt. But they will be searching close to town, checking with families you know, places you might have connections. They would not expect you to head into the mountains." "How long until we reach your friend's cabin?" "Tomorrow afternoon if we keep this pace. We will rest there for a day, then continue north." Cole studied her, noting the dark circles under her eyes and the way she winced when she dismounted. "How are you holding up?" "I am tired," she admitted, "but I will manage, I have to." They pressed on as the afternoon shadows lengthened. The terrain grew rougher, the trail steeper as they climbed into the foothills. Olivia never complained, but Cole could see her flagging. When they finally stopped for the night in a sheltered canyon, she practically fell from her saddle. "Easy," Cole said, catching her. For a moment she leaned against him, and he could feel her trembling with exhaustion. "You did well today, better than most would have managed." "I do not feel like I did well," Olivia said. "I feel like I might collapse." Cole helped her to a fallen log and built a fire as darkness gathered. He had chosen this spot carefully, a place where the canyon walls would hide the light and smoke from casual observers. While Olivia rested, he tended the horses and prepared a simple meal of beans and coffee. "Tell me about yourself," Olivia said as they ate. "You know my whole sad story, but I know nothing of you except that you are kind to desperate women and good at running." Cole smiled. "Not much to tell. I grew up in Virginia on a small farm. When the war started, I enlisted because everyone else was doing it. I was 18 and stupid and thought it would be an adventure." His smile faded. "I learned quickly what war really was. After 3 years, I could not take it anymore. I deserted, made my way west, and eventually settled in California. I have been training horses and keeping quiet for the past 5 years. Do you have family back in Virginia?" "My parents died during the war. Cholera. I was an only child, so there is no one left." He stared into the fire. "Sometimes I think that makes things easier. No one to miss, no one to worry about." "I think that sounds lonely," Olivia said softly. "It is," Cole admitted. "But lonely is better than dead, which is what I would be if I had stayed in the army." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the flames dance. Overhead, stars blazed in glorious profusion, unhindered by clouds. A coyote howled in the distance, and Olivia moved closer to the fire. "Are you frightened?" Cole asked. "Yes," she said honestly, "but not of the wilderness or the animals. I am frightened of what happens if they catch us. Victor Hammond is not a forgiving man, and my father—" She trailed off, pain flickering across her face. "My father values his business deals more than he values me. He will be furious that I shamed him in front of the whole town." "They will not catch us," Cole said with quiet certainty. "I promise you that." Olivia looked at him, firelight reflected in her dark eyes. "Why are you doing this, truly? You could have turned me away, told me to find somewhere else to hide. You could have collected a reward by returning me to my father. Instead, you are risking everything. Why?" Cole considered his answer carefully. "Because when I deserted, I was terrified and alone. The family that hid me did not have to help. It would have been easier and safer to turn me in. But they believed in doing what was right, no matter the cost. They taught me that sometimes You have to stand up for people who cannot stand up for themselves." He met her eyes. "And because you remind me that there is still goodness in this world worth protecting." Something passed between them in that moment, a connection that went deeper than words. Olivia reached out and took his hand, squeezing gently. "Thank you, Cole, for everything." He squeezed back, feeling the rightness of her hand in his. "You are welcome, Olivia." They kept watch and shifts that night, Cole taking the first. As Olivia slept wrapped in blankets near the fire, he found himself watching her instead of the darkness. She was beautiful, yes, but it was more than that. There was a strength in her, a courage that had allowed her to walk away from everything she had ever known rather than live a lie. That took a kind of bravery that most people never found. When he woke her for her watch shift, she looked up at him with sleep-soft eyes. "Is everything all right?" "Everything is quiet. Wake me if you hear anything unusual." But sleep eluded Cole. He lay in his bedroll, staring up at the stars, thinking about the woman keeping watch over him. He had been alone for so long, keeping everyone at arm's length to protect both them and himself. But Olivia was already in his life, already depending on him, and he found he did not mind. In fact, he wanted to protect her, wanted to help her find the life she deserved. It was dangerous thinking. He could not afford attachments, could not risk caring too much. But as he finally drifted off to sleep, his last thought was of Olivia's smile when he had suggested she could still be a teacher. They woke before dawn and were riding as the sun crested the eastern hills. The second day of travel was harder than the first. Olivia's muscles, unused to so many hours in the saddle, protested every movement. Cole could see her pain, but she never complained, just gritted her teeth and kept going. Around noon, they topped a ridge and Cole pointed to a small valley below. "There. That is where we are headed." The cabin was barely visible among the trees, a ramshackle structure that looked abandoned. Which, Cole supposed, it essentially was. Some prospector had built it years ago, given up when the gold played out and left it to the elements. But it still had a roof and walls, and more importantly, it was far from any traveled path. They reached it an hour later. The cabin was even more primitive up close, but it was shelter. Cole helped Olivia dismount, steadying her when her legs nearly buckled. "I am sorry," she said. "I am not usually so weak." "You are not weak. You have ridden nearly 50 miles in 2 days with no training and little rest. Most people could not have done half as well." Inside, the cabin was dusty but dry. Cole had stashed supplies here months ago, and he was relieved to find them intact. Soon he had a fire going in the old stone fireplace and water heating for coffee. "We will stay here tomorrow," he said. "Let you rest and the horses recover. It will also give the search time to move past us." Olivia sank onto a rickety chair with a groan of relief. "That sounds wonderful. I was not sure I could manage another day like today." "You could," Cole said, "but you do not have to." He handed her a cup of coffee. "There is a stream just down the hill. If you want to wash, I can keep watch." The idea of washing away 2 days of dust and fear clearly appealed to her. "Would you mind?" "Not at all. Take your time." Cole watched from a discreet distance as Olivia made her way to the stream. He kept his eyes on the surrounding forest, but his thoughts kept drifting to the woman bathing in the cold mountain water. He was growing attached to her, he realized. More than attached. In just 2 days, Olivia Castellano had worked her way into his carefully guarded heart. It was foolish. It was dangerous. But it was undeniable when Olivia returned, her hair wet and hanging in dark waves down her back, her face fresh and clean. Cole felt his breath catch. She was stunning, but it was her smile, tentative but genuine, that truly affected him. "That was the best I have felt in days," she said. "Thank you." They spent the afternoon resting, talking quietly about their lives. Olivia told him about growing up caught between two worlds, her father's Anglo business associates and her mother's Mexican heritage. She told him about learning to read when she was 4, about the books she had devoured, the dreams she had nurtured in secret. Cole talked about his childhood in Virginia, the simple pleasures of farm life before the war destroyed everything. He told her about the places he had been, the people he had met, the things he had learned in his wanderings. As evening fell, they prepared dinner together, moving around the small cabin with surprising ease. It felt domestic, comfortable, like they had been doing this for years rather than days. "This is nice," Olivia said as they ate. "I cannot remember the last time I felt so at peace." "Even sleeping in an abandoned miner's cabin and running for your life?" Cole asked with a smile. "Even then, because I am choosing this. For the first time in my life, I am making my own decisions, going my own way." She looked at him seriously. "And because I am with someone who sees me as a person, not a possession." "You are remarkable, Olivia," Cole said quietly. "Any man would be lucky to know you as a person." Color rose in her cheeks and she looked down at her plate. "You are just being kind." "I am being honest." Cole reached across the small table and tilted her chin up with gentle fingers. "You are brave and strong and intelligent. Do not let anyone make you believe otherwise." Olivia's eyes searched his face, and something shifted in the air between them. Cole was suddenly intensely aware of how close they were, of the way the firelight caught in her dark hair, of the softness of her skin beneath his fingers. He pulled back before he could do something foolish. "We should get some rest. We have a long few days ahead of us." That night, as they lay in their separate bedrolls on opposite sides of the small cabin, Cole found himself acutely aware of every sound Olivia made, every shift and breath. He wanted to go to her, wanted to hold her and tell her that everything would be all right. But he had no right to such intimacy, and she deserved better than a man who was himself running from the past. The next day passed quietly. They rested, tended the horses, and talked for hours about everything and nothing. Cole found himself laughing more than he had in years, drawn out by Olivia's sharp wit and keen observations. She, in turn, seemed to relax further, the constant tension in her shoulders easing as the hours passed without pursuit. In the afternoon, Cole taught her to shoot his rifle, reasoning that she should know how to defend herself. She proved a quick study, her hands steady despite the weapon's weight. "My mother taught me with a pistol," she admitted after hitting her 3rd target in a row, "but my father forbade me to touch guns after she died. He said it was not ladylike." "Your mother sounds like she was a wise woman," Cole said. "She was. She used to tell me that a woman who could not protect herself was at the mercy of men who might not have her best interests at heart." I did not understand what she meant until she was gone and my father began arranging my life for his benefit. That evening, as they sat by the fire, Olivia moved closer to Cole, seeking warmth against the mountain chill. He wrapped a blanket around both their shoulders and she leaned against him with a soft sigh. "I feel safe with you," she murmured. "I have not felt safe in so long." Cole's arm came around her shoulders naturally, holding her close. "You are safe with me," he promised. "I will not let anything happen to you." They sat that way for a long time, watching the flames dance. Cole was intensely aware of every point where their bodies touched, of the floral scent of her hair, of the trust implicit in the way she relaxed against him. His heart was beating faster than the moment warranted, and he knew with sudden, absolute clarity that he was falling in love with Olivia Castellano. It was the worst possible timing. They were on the run, their future uncertain, danger lurking behind them. But the heart, Cole had learned, did not consult logic before making its decisions. "Cole," Olivia's voice was soft, tentative. Yes. What will happen when we reach San Francisco? Will you stay or will you go back to your life? The question hung between them, weighted with meaning. Cole took a breath. I do not know, he said honestly. I had not thought past getting you to safety. Olivia turned to look up at him, her dark eyes reflecting the firelight. Would you consider staying? I know it is selfish to ask, but I do not want to lose you. You have become important to me. You have become important to me too, Cole admitted. The words felt like stepping off a cliff, terrifying and liberating at once. More important than I should probably allow. Why should you not allow it? Because I am a wanted man, Olivia. Somewhere, there is probably still a warrant for my desertion. Because I have nothing to offer you but uncertainty and risk. You offer me freedom, Olivia said fiercely. You offer me respect and kindness and the chance to be myself. Do you think I care about warrants or uncertainty compared to that? Cole cupped her face in his hands, his thumbs brushing her cheeks. You deserve so much better than a life on the run with a former deserter. I deserve to choose my own life, Olivia countered, and I choose you. She kissed him then, closing the distance between them with a boldness that took his breath away. Her lips were soft against his, tentative at first, then more certain as he responded. Cole gathered her closer, deepening the kiss, pouring into it all the feelings he had been trying to deny. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Olivia smiled up at him. I have wanted to do that since yesterday. Only yesterday, Cole asked, his voice rough with emotion. I have wanted to do that since I found you in my stable. They kissed again, slower this time, savoring the moment. When they finally settled back against the wall, Olivia remained in Cole's arms, her head on his shoulder. We will figure this out, she said softly. Whatever comes, we will face it together. Together, Cole agreed, pressing a kiss to the top of her head. For the first time since he had deserted, he allowed himself to hope for something more than mere survival. With Olivia, he could imagine a future, a life built on something real and true. They left the cabin before dawn the next morning, heading north. The journey took on a different quality now. They rode close together, finding excuses to touch, stealing kisses when they stopped to rest. The danger was still real, the future still uncertain, but they faced it as a unit now, drawing strength from each other. 4 days later, they crested a hill and saw San Francisco spread before them in the distance, the bay glittering in the afternoon sun. Ships crowded the harbor, their masts like a forest. Even from miles away, they could see the sprawl of the city, so much larger than anything Olivia had ever experienced. It is enormous, she breathed. Welcome to your new life, Cole said, reaching over to take her hand. They entered the city as evening fell, navigating the crowded, noisy streets. Cole led them to a modest neighborhood away from the waterfront, stopping before a neat boarding house with lace curtains in the windows. A woman in her 50s answered his knock, her stern face breaking into a smile when she recognized him. Cole Dawson, as I live and breathe. I thought you had forgotten about old Martha. Never, Martha. I need your help. Martha's sharp eyes took in Olivia, reading the situation in an instant. Come in, both of you. We will talk inside. Over tea in Martha's cozy parlor, Cole explained the situation, leaving out only the most specific details. Martha listened carefully, asking occasional questions. You can stay here, she said finally, addressing Olivia. I have a room available and I can always use help around the house. It will give you time to get on your feet, figure out what you want to do. I want to teach, Olivia said immediately. Cole suggested I might open a school. Martha's eyebrows rose. Did he now? Well, there is certainly need for teachers, especially ones willing to work with immigrant children whose families cannot afford fancy schools. She studied Olivia appraisingly. Can you really read and write, or is that just a fancy lady's boasting? Olivia's chin came up. I can read and write in both English and Spanish. I can do mathematics through algebra. I have studied history, literature, and natural sciences, and I am willing to work harder than anyone to prove myself. Martha laughed, a rich, delighted sound. Oh, I like you. Yes, I think we can make something work. She turned to Cole. And you, what are your plans? Cole looked at Olivia, then back to Martha. I was thinking maybe San Francisco could use another horse trainer. It is a growing city, there must be demand. There is, Martha confirmed. My nephew runs a livery stable on the edge of town. He has been looking for someone who knows horses. I could introduce you. That would be appreciated. Martha stood, smoothing her skirts. Well then, let me show you to your rooms. Yes, rooms plural. I run a respectable establishment, Cole Dawson. If you want to court this young lady properly, you will do it under my roof with proper decorum. Cole and Olivia exchanged glances, fighting smiles. Yes, madam, they said in unison. Over the following weeks, they built new lives in San Francisco. Cole found work at the livery stable, his skill with difficult horses quickly making him invaluable. Olivia, with Martha's help, started teaching basic reading and writing to children in the neighborhood, holding classes in the boarding house parlor. They courted properly, as Martha insisted, with supervised visits and chaperoned outings. But they stole moments when they could, kisses in shadowed doorways, held hands during evening walks, whispered conversations about their growing dreams. 2 months after their arrival, Cole came to Olivia's classroom, waiting until the last child had left before approaching her. I have something to tell you, he said, taking her hands. I spoke with a lawyer today. He checked on my desertion warrant. Apparently, there was an amnesty for deserters 5 years ago, part of the reconciliation efforts. I am not a wanted man anymore. Olivia's face lit up. Cole, that is wonderful. It means I can stop running. It means I can build a real life here. He took a deep breath. It means I can ask you properly if you will marry me. Tears sprang to Olivia's eyes, but she was smiling. Are you asking? Cole dropped to one knee, still holding her hands. Olivia Castellano, you are the bravest, smartest, most remarkable woman I have ever known. From the moment I found you in my stable, you have turned my world upside down in the best possible way. I love you with everything I am. Will you marry me? Yes, Olivia said, pulling him to his feet and into her arms. Yes, 1,000 times yes. I love you, Cole Dawson. You gave me back my life, my freedom. You showed me what it means to be truly valued. Of course I will marry you. They married in a small ceremony 3 months later, with Martha as witness and a handful of new friends they had made in the city. Olivia wore a simple blue dress, so different from the elaborate wedding gown she had fled in, and she had never felt more beautiful or more happy. Their life together unfolded with surprising sweetness. Cole's reputation grew, and within a year he had saved enough to buy the livery stable from Martha's nephew. Olivia's little school expanded, moving to a larger space and taking on 2 assistant teachers. She worked particularly with immigrant families, remembering her own mother's struggles to be accepted in San Andreas. They bought a small house on the outskirts of the city, with room for a garden and a stable for Cole's horses. It was modest compared to the mansion Olivia had grown up in, but it was theirs, built on love and mutual respect rather than money and obligation. 2 years after their marriage, Olivia gave birth to their first child, a son they named Thomas. Cole was there for the birth, holding Olivia's hand through every contraction, his face wet with tears when he first held his son. He is perfect, Cole whispered, looking from the baby to Olivia with such love that it made her chest ache. We made him together, Olivia said softly. Our miracle. Thomas was followed 2 years later by a daughter they named Maria, after Olivia's mother. And 3 years after that, another son, Jonathan, completed their family. Olivia's school continued to grow. By their 10th anniversary, she was running one of the most successful schools for immigrant children in San Francisco, employing 6 teachers and serving over 100 students. Parents blessed her name, knowing their children would have opportunities they themselves had never dreamed of. Cole's business flourished as well. He became known throughout California as the man who could gentle the most difficult horses, and his training methods were sought after by ranchers and livery owners from Sacramento to Los Angeles. They heard, occasionally, news from San Andreas. Victor Hammond had married someone else, a woman whose father owned copper mines in Nevada. The marriage, according to gossip, was as cold and mercenary as Olivia's would have been. Her father, Francisco Castellano, had died 5 years after her flight, his business empire crumbling without the Hammond alliance to support it. Olivia felt sadness for her father, but no regret for her choice. She had built something far more valuable than business empires or social standing. She had built a life of purpose, surrounded by love. On their 15th anniversary, Cole took Olivia on a trip up the coast, leaving the children with Martha, who spoiled them outrageously in their absence. They stayed in a small inn overlooking the ocean, spending lazy days walking the beach and talking about everything and nothing, the way they had in those early days of running. You ever regret it? Cole asked one evening as they watched the sun set over the Pacific. Leaving your old life, running away with a stranger. Olivia turned to him, taking his weathered hands in hers. Not for a single moment. You gave me everything I never knew I needed. Freedom, respect, love, purpose. You gave me myself. She kissed him softly. I found you trembling in your stable, and I found my future. I found you trembling in my stable, Cole corrected with a smile. But yes, I found my future too. They stayed on the beach until the stars came out, wrapped in each other's arms, watching the waves roll in. Their lives had not been easy, but they had been rich with meaning, full of love and purpose and the deep satisfaction of work well done. When they returned to San Francisco, their children ran to greet them. Thomas, now 12 and already showing signs of his father's height. Maria, at 10, was the image of her mother with her dark hair and clever eyes. And Jonathan, 7 years old, was a perfect blend of both parents, with Cole's blue eyes and Olivia's olive skin. We missed you, Maria said, hugging Olivia tightly. We missed you too, sweetheart, but we are home now. Home. It was such a simple word, but it meant everything. Not the building, though Olivia loved their little house with its garden and stable. Home was wherever Cole was, wherever their children were, wherever love and respect and mutual support created a foundation strong enough to weather any storm. The years continued to pass, bringing challenges and joys in equal measure. Thomas grew into a fine young man who chose to study law, determined to help people navigate the complex legal system. Maria, to no one's surprise, became a teacher like her mother, taking over much of the daily running of the school. Jonathan, who had inherited his father's way with animals, joined Cole at the stable and eventually expanded into veterinary medicine. Cole and Olivia grew older together, their hair graying, their faces lining with the marks of years well lived. But their love never diminished. If anything, it deepened, matured like good wine, becoming richer and more complex with time. On their 30th anniversary, surrounded by their children and a growing brood of grandchildren, they renewed their vows in the garden of their home. The ceremony was simple, just family and close friends, but it was perfect. 30 years ago, Cole said, holding Olivia's hands and looking into her eyes with the same love he had shown on their wedding day. "I found a terrified woman hiding in my stable. I thought I was saving her, but the truth is, she saved me. Olivia, you have been my partner, my best friend, my greatest love for 3 decades. You have made every day of my life richer just by being in it. I promise to love you, honor you, and cherish you for whatever time we have left." Olivia was crying openly now, happy tears streaming down her face. "Cole, you saw me when no one else did. You valued me when others saw only a commodity. You loved me when I had nothing to offer but myself. You have been my rock, my safe harbor, my home. I promise to love you with everything I am for all the days of my life." They kissed as their family cheered, and Olivia thought back to that terrified girl who had hidden in a stable 30 years ago. If she could speak to that girl now, she would tell her that everything would be all right, more than all right. That the cowboy who found her trembling in the darkness would become the love of her life, her partner in building something beautiful from the ashes of her old existence. The party continued into the evening, with music and laughter and stories told and retold. But as night fell, Cole and Olivia slipped away to their favorite spot in the garden, a bench beneath an old oak tree where they had spent countless evenings over the years. "We did well," Cole said, his arm around Olivia's shoulders as they watched their family through the windows of the house. "We did better than well," Olivia corrected. "We built a legacy of love and purpose. Our children know they are valued for who they are, not what they can provide others. Our students have opportunities their parents never dreamed of. We changed lives, Cole, including our own." "Especially our own," Cole agreed. He pressed a kiss to her temple. "I love you, Olivia Dawson. I love you, Cole Dawson, today, tomorrow, and always." They sat in comfortable silence, listening to the sounds of celebration drifting from the house. Two people who had found each other in the darkest of moments and built a lifetime of light together. A cowboy who had risked everything to help a stranger. A woman who had been brave enough to run toward an unknown future rather than accept a predetermined fate. Their story could have ended in tragedy, in capture or death or lonely separation. Instead, it had become something beautiful, a testament to the power of courage, compassion, and love. From that first terrifying night in a stable in San Andreas to this peaceful evening in San Francisco, they had walked the path together, hand in hand, heart to heart. And as the stars came out above them and laughter echoed from the house where their children and grandchildren celebrated, Cole and Olivia knew with absolute certainty that every risk, every hardship, every moment of fear had been worth it. They had found in each other something rare and precious, a love that transformed everything it touched, that turned running into arriving, fear into courage, and strangers into soulmates. Their happily ever after was not a fairy tale ending but a life well lived, rich with purpose and overflowing with love. And sitting together beneath the oak tree in their garden, surrounded by the evidence of the beautiful life they had built, they knew they would not change a single moment of their journey together.